All right, I think we're live.
Hooray!
We're
Yeah,
live.
just got a notification that we're live.
Right before Baltimore gets shut down by a little bit of snow.
Yeah, it's gonna snow soon.
I think
Here,
almost immediately it's going to all melt. And
Yeah,
so here it's supposed, at least in Pennsylvania, it's supposed to start snowing at like 9 and snow until about 5 o'clock and then turn to freezing rain.
that's pretty
Same
bad.
thing here, but it's starting at like 6 or 7 in the morning.
Oh,
Yeah,
So,
something to look forward to.
yeah, like everything in Baltimore is already basically just closed down.
I feel like a lot of people at Lancaster Labs won't come in, but I have so much shit that I need to do.
Yeah.
I need to go in.
That sounds pretty exciting for us all.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Can't wait. Can't wait.
All right, so I guess what do we have to talk about today? There've been a fair number of things like announced and shown by Games Workshop, and
Yeah, I feel Games Workshop is constantly like at different conventions and things, like in finding new reasons to show new models and whatnot. It's like we were at some toy fair no one's ever heard of, but we
it's
announced
a New
this.
York Toy Fair. Like that's kind of a thing.
Well, I mean, I guess maybe it's just, I mean, it's certainly a thing, but like Games Workshop didn't do that stuff before.
Oh no, I mean that's
Like
certainly true.
they're going to stuff all the time now.
Yeah,
To,
they're trying a little harder to get
and I
people
mean, it's
excited
cool.
about their
Like
brand.
it's hard for me to believe that, what, just the week prior it was LVO, which is like the largest 40K tournament. So they were there for that. And that I feel is a bit less surprising.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
immediately after that and revealing, all these new Primaris Space Marines and some Chaos stuff, before they've even revealed all that stuff.
All that stuff we've already forgotten about.
Yeah, I
We
mean,
just talked about it.
yeah, but I'm just like, before even that stuff was fully revealed, they're already revealing new stuff. So
Trying to
they're
get
just
people excited.
constantly.
I feel in the past it was the type of thing for at least for a number of years I remember they initially started out they'd show stuff way in advance to get people excited, and then they shifted gears to more along the lines of they'd show stuff like just like a week or so before it was released, and that was it. So there was literally no
Yeah.
excitement building. And I guess some of that I always liken that to the notion that they they wanted to get people excited about the stuff that they were going to buy, and if like they showed everybody a bunch of stuff and people decided, oh, I'm gonna buy that, and then before they could buy it they showed like these new things like, oh, the Sisters of Battle are coming out, and it's like, oh shit, well, I'm not gonna buy that stuff anymore, just gonna wait until the Sisters of Battle are released, shit like that. That's always what I
Yeah,
sort
no,
of
it's
likened it to.
it's changed a lot, I feel. Now it's just a constant whirlwind of new products and such.
Yeah.
Constant whirlwind. Like a new game.
Yeah, so
Combat
I guess
Arena.
that, yeah. What no one was expecting, they announced a new game at the New York Toy Fair called Combat Arena.
To me, looking at the box they have here, this reminds me so much of a Fantasy Flight game. Like even
It
the
really does.
artwork, the title, how it's like fast-paced miniature combat game, and it just so much reminds me of a Fantasy Flight game. I
I
mean,
agree.
admittedly,
It
looking
really does
at
look
the
that way.
contents inside the box, it doesn't remind me as much because it's like this tiny little board that um, doesn't
Uh,
seem to, in that sense, it doesn't seem to have the same theme as a lot of the Fantasy Flight ones. Like, I don't know. I feel this looks I mean, not that it's necessarily a bad game. Hopefully, it's fun and neat and whatnot. But the fact that it is just a little square board where seemingly four characters or players get placed in the corner and then they each corner and just fight each other makes it seem as though the only reason this was made was to release the miniatures.
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
I mean, maybe it's not. Like, hopefully they did get a designer and like spend a lot of time coming up with a neat system, and it very well could be. But I feel how it's presented, it really minimizes the game aspect of it. Which, I guess Games Workshop has been doing that for a long time. But
yeah, they have
stuff like Blackstone Fortress and Warhammer Quest and such, I think did a fairly nice job of balancing the excitement of models as with a game that seemed to also take center stage, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Whereas it's harder to see, it's harder to get that impression from this.
Yeah, could that be good? Well, I wouldn't be surprised if it's the best arena combat sort of thing they've done, because boy, over the years have they released that, and just taking your regular 40k rules and having an arena combat thing, that shit's just not fun.
Yeah,
it's just not fun.
It's bad.
Or all the times
board codes, and they released that to just have a way to get all four of those blood. Or
do you think this is the same sort of game?
I really don't know.
Yeah, well, I feel almost invariably what people will be most excited about this game are the models themselves.
If it's less than $50,
that would be a steal.
That would be something to be excited about. I hope it's...
What if it was $40?
Would be good. I mean,
it would be unheard of if it was less than $40. Like,
well, I mean, isn't Shadespire and like Nightfall, aren't they? I guess maybe they're 60.
I think they're like 60, which is pretty cheap.
It's
really.
still pretty reasonable for.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess stuff like Shadespire and Blackstone Fortress, which have nice models, but just looking at pictures of it, like I feel it was immediately clear that the board game, like the game aspect, was a major element of it. This seems less than that.
Yeah.
I mean, it may not be.
It's hard to say.
And hopefully it's not, because I mean, admittedly, I feel some of the stuff in the past, like even like, well, I guess Betrayal at Calth, that game, I played a game or two of that. The Horus Heresy game, which seemed like an excuse just to make plastic Mark IV Marines and whatnot. And admittedly, the game was actually pretty fun, even though like everyone just kind of panned it like, whatever, it doesn't matter. I bought this just for all those Marines. So I mean, it was fun, and it kind of explored some different mechanics than traditional 40k stuff, which was neat. So I mean, with that in mind, I could see this actually being pretty interesting and having some neat mechanics. So hopefully it is. It's just, again, how it's being presented, it's hard to...
Well, I mean, just look at
these
the cover.
Characters fighting each other?
If you just look at the cover, it doesn't make a lick of sense. Like, there's like a rogue trader, a tech priest, a psyker, a high-level psyker, a servitor, and they're all duking it out.
What are they doing? What are they? And I mean, because I don't think they really talk in too much depth about what the theme is or setting is. So, like, what the hell are they doing?
The theme is combat, Eric. Fast-paced combat.
Yeah, so then that itself,
in a dark future.
And, see, maybe that also speaks to this idea that it doesn't seem as though the game is a focus, because they aren't focusing on any narrative elements. Like Blackstone Fortress, almost immediately they were kind of talking about sort of the lore and what was going on.
Well, yeah, those videos right away. Yeah, those videos right away of the rogue trader talking about his cohort.
So, and that was good. That pushed forward this idea that the game was an important element.
Well, I don't know. The weirdest thing I almost think is that at the end of the reveal, they say, in fact, the set is a prequel to Warhammer Quest Blackstone Fortress, and the ancient structure has.
Yeah, I guess these people were all going to the Blackstone Fortress and gotten this a fracas. Like, oh
so
no, I want to be the first to go in.
And then they
I want to be the first to precipice.
Yeah, they're training. They're training everybody. This is a combat.
It could be that. It could be that.
I could imagine the rogue trader girl there sitting on a chair, sharpening her blade foot.
Her blade leg.
So boy, that would be hard to.
It really wouldn't work.
Stand and run, and
maybe it has some like little displacer field or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There are all the models in general. I think are pretty nice, but they don't make some of them don't make too much sense. And the main one's the rogue trader, and it's mainly just.
Well, even before we talk about the model as a whole, I find it's very interesting that this is maybe I think the third rogue trader plastic model that's been released basically within the span of a year. I find that's somewhat interesting.
It's neat. I mean, there's a lot of room to explore with rogue traders, and I feel
I think that is neat.
They're pretty.
They're somewhat different.
They're pretty.
And that's neat, such that it's not just like because I feel it could be like the Inquisitor or Warhammer 40,000. There's like two Inquisitor models. The main one is this terrible looking one and dumb looking power armor, and that is like Inquisitor in the 40K setting. And completely loses all the neat elements that were so masterfully built up with the 54mm RPG Inquisitor game and whatnot. And
lifeboats here, high lifeboat.
But it's nice that at least for rogue traders, they're like releasing different models and kind of suggesting that, hey, there are new elements here. And they're not all just the same thing.
They don't tell us the names of any of them, right? No. So we can refer to this rogue trader as Bladefoot.
Bladefoot, yeah.
Overall, I think Bladefoot looks pretty good, aside from kind of that. I don't like the Bladefoot. And some of her armor is kind of weird. It's really weird, as a matter of fact.
The blade feet shit, like, that's always stupid. Like, that would work so poorly.
Yeah.
Like, so poorly. Getting stuck in shit and then, like, sinking into the ground and falling over. And, like, it just...
It must have some displacer field or something in it or something.
Yeah.
We could make up lots of excuses for why it would work. And then probably even more interesting than that are... has, like, a brace of, like, dueling revolvers, which... They actually look pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
And they sort of have a Schofield type mechanism where the whole barrel and wheel like flips forward for you to reload the weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And in sort of a kind of funny, cheeky thing, they have one of our little servo skulls is loading in another round for the revolver for her.
Yeah, it's kind of cute. It's nice. The bullet isn't like gigantic.
Well, you see here, since they decided to make it doing that, they had to spend a little more time thinking about like what that would entail. The one thing that I question, I almost feel if like a servo skull or something was doing this, they wouldn't be loading each round one at a time. Instead, they'd have one of those little quick reload, like moon clips or whatever they use for revolvers, and they'd load like all 6 to 8 in one go. Another thing that I thought was interesting, if you look at the size of the wheel on the revolver, it looks like it could hold cartridges that are quite a bit longer than the one it currently has, such that, like, I guess, because, like...
Well, it's like a 357 Magnum that can also get loaded with
38
special, right? It's
Correct.
just this Rogue Trader, when on her way out the precipice, she ran out of all like the real ammunition she wanted to use, so she's up to the backup.
No, but she's in a combat arena. She's not gonna use her good shit here, right?
Well, she did. I mean, she's doing it. You see it. The visual evidence is there, Adam. Like,
No, but she's
you can't deny that she's not prepared. I mean, maybe that's just it. She wasn't prepared for this trip. That's why she's in the combat arenas.
No, she's just trying to hone her skills and be on.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, regardless, the model looks pretty good. I largely like it. The servo skulls look a little weird.
The one like behind her by the I was gonna call it a rifle. I mean, they're big enough to be a rifle, but the servo skull that's kind of flying, not the reloading one, looks pretty dumb and like
the teeth. It's mainly the teeth. I
the
think.
teeth look bad. But the cable is so huge and it's not tapered at all, and I feel it looks kind of weird.
Yeah, it does look kind of weird.
But we had mentioned that I don't really like the knife leg or whatever, but like it's almost like they wanted to keep that motif at multiple places on her because she has that like bandana
Scarf,
coming down from her face or something, and something also like an armored plate kind of protecting her groin or whatever.
Yeah, it's weird.
And I think they just look weird. And I think that motif or element looks awkward, and I think it would look better if they wouldn't have done that.
But
like what's going on there?
It will be interesting to see the back of the model. She has this sword or dagger, which looks kind of weird. So we'll wait until we see more pictures. She also has those big feathers. They're cool.
Yep.
Which one do we want to talk about next? Don't all say something at once, guys.
Don't want to talk about
Big Head Psyker.
Alright, we're going to talk about the Psyker.
The Psyker.
Well, so the big thing I noticed looking at this picture, it looks like they edited the image wrong and they cut out some of her foot down, some of her boot. They cut some of that out when they were photoshopping it. I like that. Overall, the model I think looks really good. This is largely what I would envision a Psyker to look like. Though I guess one thing that is sort of weird. Wait, so they're in a combat arena, and both of these models that we've looked off, they both have skulls on their bases. Like, what's the deal with that? Like,
cool
are there
extra
skulls
detail
on the other bases? No.
Cool extra detail.
Okay, so only those two have skulls. Like, that seems like not the place to have skulls, but I get it.
Well, so I wouldn't be surprised if most of these models were made for something else initially, and then they just threw them in the combat arena.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. But the Psyker...
Well, I think she's pretty neat looking. It's interesting. She looks a fair bit like the Genestealer Magus or whatever that was released a while back.
Just
same basic pose.
Is it the same?
I mean, all the details on her are pretty different.
Like, her armor is completely different. She's, like, holding out her hand. Like, is it?
Like, the male Magus that was released, like, 2 years ago.
Oh, that's
is a very similar profile. I mean, the model is completely different. Nothing about it. It's just, it looks like the same type of model.
This
Which, I mean, they do this all the time for Psykers.
Yeah, this is the classic Psyker pose.
Yeah, like
GW.
Most of the librarians look like that.
The Force Lightning pose. That's what we're looking at.
It's right. But it's a dynamic pose. Like, it looks good. And I guess, it looks good. I feel her head seems pretty large.
maybe you'd liken that to the notion that maybe her cranium's enlarged.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I
it's,
think it looks like the top of her head is elongated.
Yeah.
yeah, I guess that's a good point. You're right.
So
yeah,
overall, I like
that
her
may have
armor's
been a
cool.
very conscious decision, but I feel it compared to like her hands, which are relatively small and whatnot. So like they made a conscious effort to make some of those things more slight, but the head is not. So I think you're
Conscious
probably
decision.
right that it was a conscious decision. But then again, it doesn't. Maybe it's because it's not pronounced that much and it's not obvious that it was a conscious decision. But I guess that's probably better than
Yeah, I think it's
doing.
good. This one might be my favorite of the ones in the set.
It's, yeah,
Okay.
more cohesive than the Rogue Trader.
Yeah. Let's go to the Crusader, the Inquisitor Crusader. So this, we've had ever since the release of, like, the Witch Hunter. Was it the Witch Hunter Codex, which was a long time ago?
Yeah, I think that would
They
be
had a metal version of a Crusader like this. And this one I feel is largely just an updated version of that with better detailing.
Yeah, certainly.
Looks
The
good.
sword's a little smaller too.
I almost feel like...
Why would it have a purity seal upside down on it?
Yeah, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Like seriously, there's literally upside down. Like if they would
it's
be
almost
using
like
that
attached to his hand. Yeah, you'd really do good to remove that. That doesn't make sense.
it would literally
It is
be.
also weird. I feel like his legs are a little spread out too far, and his head, or their head, isn't seated high enough.
Yeah, I feel this is something that like most of the Space Marine models that we constantly talk about, how they don't have torsos and that sort of thing. I feel a lot of that could at least be minimized, not completely repaired, but could be minimized if like more of a neck was on the models. And I think this could benefit from that as well.
Because here it's hard to tell like where like the model's eyes and stuff would be situated, but if you go it based on where the one bionic eye is, they don't have a neck.
Yeah.
What happened to the neck? So I feel if you just remedied that, the model would look a whole lot better.
But it's a good not really re-imaging, but like an updating of that concept. Like it looks cool. Like his sword is a little bit nicer looking. I mean, still huge, but it's smaller.
Yeah, it looks good.
I like it. But yeah, that purity seal literally doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. I like it. And it will be it's plastic as well, so like I could see people using that shield for all manner of things.
Why the fuck does he have that chain Inquisitor Rosette hanging from his belt area? Like, who would do that? Who would have that extra shit hanging down to be grabbed? Or like, it's stupid.
You'd say it because they want to display that, but it's already displayed right prominently on the breastplate. So yeah.
Well, Greg, who would have like a bionic eye put down by their chin? Who would have a purity seal stamped on upside down on the sword to make it look more awkward? The Inquisition is the answer.
That's the answer.
Order of Hereticus.
His legs are pretty widely spaced apart.
Yeah, I feel
that's how normal people stand, Greg. The normal resting pose is to spread their feet out so far that they're way beyond where their shoulders are.
And their center of balance is all fucked up.
That's what people do.
So that's the one thing about the model that like it would be you really couldn't fix the legs and how they're posed, which sucks. But you can fix how the head's placed, and I feel that would do a lot to help.
Yeah.
Perhaps the thing that you can really do to save the model is to just keep it in the box.
It's nice. It's a nice model.
Yeah, I
think
mean, at first, first glance, like, wow, he looks like. I mean, that was an old design. They already had a model like this. Like, wow, they made a better version, and I don't think it's better.
also what you could do, and what I think would be kind of neat to do, it'll really depend on how the model is cut in the sprues, but there's a possibility that the legs are like separate from
From
the
the
cape and
cape,
everything. And
yeah.
if that's true, you could actually fix the stuff a lot easier. And so we'll see what it's like. Maybe if the game, maybe we'll get the game and we could see about trying to fix it.
Well, so when
But
I first saw it, or go on Adam.
I was gonna say, like, you might just be able to take that, carve out the legs, and use the body and the cape type thing and put new legs in there because the body's really cool. Like, I really like it. It's like perfect.
Yeah,
The
it's good.
Inquisition eye on the front there is really neat. Like,
Yeah, it's
I
good.
could see this being used for all manner of different, like, Inquisitor conversions and stuff.
Yeah, it's true.
So, as it was mentioned before, the head, how like it seems like he kind of doesn't have a neck, or if he has a neck, he doesn't have a chin, or if he has a chin, his bionic eye is kind of on the chin.
And then he doesn't
So,
have a forehead.
yeah. So when I look at it, I always kind of think that, or I have thought of it, that maybe he's like a robot.
Yeah, maybe it's a droid.
He looks like a droid.
That's why his legs are so far apart, guys.
Yeah.
We've been complaining about this the whole time, and it was all wrong. This is a robot. You're right. It's a robot.
Yeah, it's
Makes
a robot.
sense.
We figured it out. Cool.
But then they made it. They made the robot look basically exactly like a human, except for some subtle but significant.
Does he have Terminator honors on either side of the shield?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, they look really dumb.
That is not cool. It's like the opposite of cool.
That's cool. That's cool.
All right.
How do you think he got him? By defeating like
No, it's
Terminators?
two
in the
Space Marines from different
combat arena.
chapters gifted them to.
I think he beat some Space Marines in the
He
combat
beat
arena.
he beat some chaplains and.
They slotted them in.
Well, because you see, each
Alright,
one of those
everybody.
has a shard of the Emperor's armor.
Yeah.
That's what gives it That's what gives him his invulnerable save. So he has 2 shards of the
Alright,
Emperor's armor.
We've talked
That's
too
why
much
it's a
about
3+
that model.
invulnerable save.
We need
3+.
to stop. We need to stop. All right, let's move on to the Tech Priest.
Yeah, generic tech priest model.
I don't like it that much. It's not a bad model, but to me it doesn't fit together super well, and it almost looks like they had a bunch of elements and they put them together and they got a model.
Like the top half of his head doesn't look like it's seated properly in the
Yeah, I
collar.
agree with that.
Like,
He doesn't have a neck or anything. I mean, they specifically removed his head and brain matter and such, and then like.
yeah, I think you could cut off the top part of the head and put a new head on, and it could, like, the body's kind of cool.
Yeah, I really
both of
think if you cut off the top part of the head and the hood, you could literally just drill like a hole in there and slot a new head in there with a neck, and it would.
You
look
could
a
just
lot
put a
better.
normal Skitarii Ranger head in there.
Yeah, I think it would.
better.
It would look a lot better.
It would do well to remove that stupid scanner, data tether, or whatever the shit that is. And, like, I mean, it's not like this is necessarily a problem, but goddamn, is his bionic arm huge. And it, like,
how it
is jarring.
attaches looks weird.
Yeah.
How his other arm is positioned, and I don't know, something about that looks weird. The like bionic thing on his backpack, like,
It has a motorcycle handle throttle thing, so it almost looks like that's
it does.
to move down, and then you take hold of that and.
What also looks like the rest of it, the to me it reminds me of like something that would come off of a Talos, a Dark Eldar Talos. Like
Guys, I
ma-
think you have to understand this tech priest is angry. This tech priest is pissed. Like his bionic arms fucked up. They gave him an aftermarket
well, he's also an
arm
Electro
thing. So like
Priest.
he's fucking shooting up in the air. He's firing his
Well, so
whatever the fuck pistol.
he was
Like
an
he's
Electro Priest.
He was.
yeah, they put that.
Look at-
They put the Electro Priest asset on there. Like he's
Yeah.
pissed, man. He's firing. He's firing wildly. His neck's gone. His arm didn't attach right. His feet are huge, and they're not even bionics. They're just
Well, you see,
big fucking feet.
he has the Electro Priest apron
Yeah,
and the big Electro Priest feet.
But he
So
has a
he-
ranger body.
Oh yeah, so he was an Electro Priest turned Ranger.
Turned
When he
with-
became the Ranger, that's when they cut out his like neck and shit and got rid of his mouth. He used
That was-
the
that was
top
the-
of his head with his neck.
His neck was a big element of his humanity that they had to excise. Although I guess maybe that doesn't make sense because a lot of Games Workshop models don't have necks, so that's just a general thing that happened to humanity over 40,000 years.
So this, I think, is clearly the worst model of the set. Like,
More than any of the others, it looks like it's just a bunch of digital assets that were merged together into something that almost looks cool, but
yeah, 'cause
then
it's certainly not a terrible. It's certainly not terrible by any means, but I don't think it meshes together into something that I particularly like.
I feel if you
why
as
does
we
he
were-
have?
as we were saying, if you cut off the top of his head, kept the collar thing, put in like one of the plastic Skitarii heads, removed both of his arms and replaced them.
Removed his legs.
You wouldn't have to remove his legs. You just have to replace his feet.
Yeah,
With,
I don't.
like,
I
It
don't.
looks like he's stepping up on something, but his foot that's stepping up isn't actually on something.
Well, they removed his
Yeah.
feet, his femur, and shortened it.
Okay, we have to stop. We have to stop with this one.
And-
Too.
Another thing, this is last thing to say, and this isn't necessarily just a problem with this model, but God, do I hate when they put cables going from a gun to their back, just to add fucking dumb shit. Like, let's just add some detail. Let's add a cable, an unwieldy cable that goes to the back to nothing. Like,
Well,
Yeah,
so
my
if
God.
he's in the heat of the moment and drops it, he can
he can drag it along.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I guess it's true.
What's the Auspex thing?
Whatever, Greg. Who cares?
That's why it could be an Auspex. It could be a data spike tether. I don't know. This
Could
guitar
be a
have a bunch of
blender.
shit.
Let's stop
Could be.
talking about
Yeah,
him.
we're done.
Yeah,
we're
let's just
done.
move on.
All right. They updated Servitor. They now have a plastic Servitor. That's cool. This model actually has a neck. The Servitor kept his neck. That's cool.
Doesn't even make sense. Why would he get to keep it?
Yeah, why
But
would
he has like no rights. The Servitor has no rights. Like he's
Yeah.
just a
Well, maybe he
lobotomized.
actually had a will or something, and he said that when he was turned into a Servitor, he wanted to maintain his neck. That was
But they
all.
wouldn't do that. He was lobotomized probably because he was a criminal or something. Like, why would he
Yeah.
get the ability to keep his neck?
Yeah, I don't know.
And look, they cut off his feet. Like he has bionic feet, and they're still practically smaller than most Games Workshop feet when they're wearing boots.
That's not true, Eric.
I know, but
It is one of the biggest thing that I think is weird about the model and makes it look a little, I'll say, wonky, is his legs have these baggy pants and shit, which make it very difficult to tell where the knees are. So instead of it having like muscular legs or something, it looks like it has like tube
He
legs.
looks
Yeah,
like a
that's
scarecrow. Scarecrow legs.
Because like I feel if there was a little more definition there and you could tell where the knees were, it
Hmm.
would look a lot better.
I still like it. I like his face.
Yeah, I do
I
too.
like the searchlight
But so it would be
thing.
better if he was wearing skinny jeans.
Yeah, man, it
Should
would be
do it.
better. It would be
I don't
better.
know. Whatever weapon he has on there, it doesn't look super cool, but
I don't know. It's a
it's
good model. It's been the last Servitor models were largely just ones that Jess Goodwin had
the
made years
single
ago.
piece ones.
Yeah, and then I think maybe a few years later they took some of them and made some slight modifications.
Yeah,
But
I
they
feel
look
this is a
the
nice.
same.
This is overall a nice re-envision of some of that, and I think one of the nicer models in the box as a whole.
Except for those the baggy pants and shit. Like you can't
Yeah,
tell where. It just looks
yeah,
tube
they
legs.
would be worth removing. Maybe you could just put Goliath legs on them.
Yeah, it would look better. Also, and then like the tube legs, like one of the things, like it almost looks like that's an armor plate on the knee, but I guess from this angle, it looks like that's too flat. Like you, but I now I'm just complaining to complain, but um,
Well, maybe it was. Did we mention that this is supposed to be a prequel to Blackstone
we
Fortress?
did. We thought it was
So
weird.
that brings up a general thing that, like, I feel overall the models are fairly good, and a lot of them are at least somewhat interesting. But man, these are not. Don't hold a candle to the Blackstone Fortress models.
Well, I feel most of those models in Blackstone Fortress, they had a very clear direction and idea for them. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
these, the
Arna, yeah,
idea and the story and the narrative isn't quite
yeah.
there. Um,
But I
Particularly
mean,
with Tech Priest.
but maybe this just goes with the general the idea that we were saying that the game doesn't seem like it's all there, or just how it's being presented. We ultimately have no idea what it will be like. But the whole thing, the way it's being presented and such, not really talking about the theme and what's going on, makes it just seem like this is a way you can get 4 or 5, however many models it is, in one box, all for this the low price of whatever, rather than just selling them individually, which they will eventually do. So it just seems like they wanted to release these all models together, and yeah, just everything about it seems like it's not as precise and carefully crafted as like Blackstone Fortress and such, and the models also look that way.
Yeah, I don't know. Overall, I think it'll be a good release, and I think
If it's $40 or something, it seems like it
it's
would
like a
be
almost
a
a
net,
must
like,
buy
yeah,
because you
because
could
you can use it, and
for
just for
all
those
sorts of
servo
shit.
stalls, man.
Yeah, not the service costs. You throw them out. But yeah, it looks like a nice, looks nice. Maybe we could probably play the game.
We
We'd
could
probably
also
use our own
stop
models.
talking about the
Yeah.
game now.
Let's
All right.
stop.
Cool.
Well, actually,
Is
maybe
there
the
anything
last
else
thing
you?
that could be said about it, it would be interesting if it is a prequel to Blackstone Fortress. It would be cool if they released like cards such that you could play with them in Blackstone Fortress.
I feel that seems like a distinct thing that they could do. Yeah,
Put it in the new White Dwarf.
that's the thing they could do. Yeah. Because I mean, a lot of these characters just literally, these roles like aren't in Blackstone Fortress currently. So there's a lot of room for stuff.
Yeah, it's true. It's
Um,
true.
okay, so we talked a lot about that. They announced some other game, Stormvault. Like I don't know what that is. I didn't read about
No models. Don't care.
it. The
Let's not talk
cooperative
about it.
fantasy adventure board game. Yeah, I don't know.
No
Not too
models.
interested.
No, let's not talk about it.
It's all Stormcast, all the time.
Yeah, picture all
Did
Stormcast.
did what?
Fane.
Did
What the hell is this? It's aimed at
It's
new.
a it's a starter version of Underworlds with smaller warbands or something.
Wait, what? But
So
wasn't
they're making it cheaper.
that's
I guess it's
interesting.
probably cheaper. In a probably smaller decks, smaller warbands to like learn the game, kind of like
Yeah.
which is interesting. And I think it even says that like, oh, and these starter warbands will eventually be available separately. It's like, oh, that's cool, starter warband, new little warbands to buy. Then if you look in the picture of what's in the big board game, you realize that they're just already easy push fit models
Yeah,
that are
they're
already
known
available
models.
for
They're the same.
sale.
Yeah.
So like
I don't
this
think
does
it's
not
gonna be a big seller.
this does not seem like something that I would
I
want.
mean, the regular game's
It's not
small
for
and
you,
fairly
Eric.
cheap.
It's not for you.
Yeah.
It's not for you. Okay,
I mean, I
whatever.
guess if they would be smart if this actually had cards that people might want that are
Oh
included in
yeah.
there, duplicates or whatever.
Yeah, that
Like
would be
it would
nice
that
actually.
could get
Yeah.
people to buy. I think the
Or
release
have
is a
they
way
have
to
they
get.
already released erratas and stuff for cards? Like maybe this would be an excuse to reprint cards and like
That's true.
modify them. Like that could be an interesting
Yeah, so it
way to
could be
do that.
cool. Well, I guess if the normal like Night Vault or Shade Spire costs $60, this will probably be 30.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Yeah, I mean that's a good price point. Like
Hmm.
I guess.
Okay, what we've all been waiting for: Funko Pop. They
It's
showed packaging, and
Shit.
maybe
Yeah,
these are the actual models. Yeah, I
I
think
want
they
them.
might be. They look pretty good.
I want them.
You want them? I know you want them, Eric. You
Well,
just
talking about wanting them, I want these. I want to be able to give them away on the stream to nobody who watches them.
heck yeah.
And then, but after the Funko Pop, they really reveal Space Marine Heroes too. They're coming to the States now. So I
Oh
want
yeah,
them to
that's
give
like the
away
most
on stream
exciting.
too.
Here, season 2 heroes. Hell yeah! Look at those Terminators.
they're better than the other, or
They
these don't look
do.
like the same as the Japan Terminator thing. They're different, aren't they? Or are
I
they then?
don't know.
Kind of doubt they're different, but they don't look as bad as I
'Cause I think
remembered.
the Lightning Claw guys looks pretty good.
Maybe it's because these ones they're showing them with their helmets on, and
That's
before we
possible.
saw with their dumb looking bare heads, and it like with the
If the
helmets
helmets
and
are
all.
on, it's harder to tell that they're so fucked
It
up.
doesn't remove. It's harder to remove all doubt that their physiology is so fucked up. This one, the Cyclone missile launcher one, does look pretty weird.
Okay, so they're the same
It-
Japan
Yeah,
ones.
it's also weird how they drilled the barrels out of the storm bolter. They look whacked.
This
But
one with the Cyclone missile launcher looks the worst. His helmet looks pretty interesting
it's
and
different.
weird.
Yeah.
And
some
like,
of
why are
them-
those cables going from his armpits to his dick?
They wanted extra detail, Eric. That's it.
I mean,
Yeah.
I want extra detail.
The lightning claw guy, like, look at those running legs. Like, look at how weirdly they're posed. That's weird.
Also, here goes the question again. If anyone is watching this, do you want us to keep buying Space Marine Heroes? We did it before a little bit. Gave them to you, our listeners. We could do it again.
like the big problem
Yeah,
is
we'll do
I
it.
struggle to think anyone would want these.
I saw people on Instagram buying them, painting them.
I
Someone
mean,
cares.
if I see them in stores, I'm buying them all.
Buy all of them. So they still do look like they have the scenic bases and stuff. So like that
Could
that
be
was
useful.
literally one of for the normal Marines, the bases and the bear heads, since they were all different. Those were the nicest things about them all. I could see you buying
Yeah.
them just for those to use in conversions.
I feel these like it's cool that they went to Terminators, but I was hoping like, oh, Terminators, maybe they'll be of like the same quality of like the Space Hulk models when they
They're not.
redesigned Space Hulk. and they're just
even
not.
close.
So like
Well, Alex
that
Headstrom designed
disappointment.
the Space Hulk Terminator, so like
Yeah, and they were
he
good.
spent a lot of time with their poses and thought them out. Where these, you can tell their poses are much wonkier and like even
Yeah.
more so than normal Space Marines, I feel. Or Space Marine Terminators, rather.
It's true. It's true.
But yeah, so Space Marine Heroes Season 2, something to look forward to.
I can't wait.
I can't wait. And hopefully they sell so well that they'll come out with a Season 3, and I don't know what they do with that, but
It's already announced it's happening. It's right on the screen there.
oh fuck, they did. Damn it. What does it say?
Doesn't say anything. It's just coming out in
Oh
Japan.
boy, Japan's getting Season 3. That's incredible. Maybe it'll be Primaris Space Marines.
I mean, that's probably what it will be. I'm
Oh no, fuck
surprised.
no! It's gonna be Assault Marines. They'll
But if
probably
that's
be
the-
Assault Marines.
But if that's the case, it is curious that Games Workshop is pushing Primaris so hard everywhere else to the point like they like practically don't even show normal Space Marines in White Dwarf and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that these have not been that. Although maybe it's just that they were designed a long
Yeah,
while
I mean,
ago
I
and are
think
only
they
being
were.
released now.
Yeah. Well, they had the assets and stuff. It's like, you know what? We should really try and do a little more with this. People will buy them. They like Space Marines. But I still do think they would have sold better if it was if they were released before the advent of Primaris Marines and stuff. So I
Yeah.
think even for like the normal person, I think the Primaris Marines probably did get at least some people to realize, you know what, these look a lot better than
Yeah,
the
it's
standard
true.
Space Marines. And even if they didn't necessarily realize why they looked so much better, I think most people realized they did look better.
Yeah.
So that was the toy fair. An unexpected slew of like releases and reveals. So who knows what's gonna come next?
It's
Yeah.
true.
Who knows? Is there anything else we want to talk about?
I don't know. It's close to midnight here. I wouldn't be upset if we just called it a day because
I hear
I'm
that.
tired.
Yeah.
I
I'm
hear
tired.
that.
I said, but I'm tired.
Alright, no more George Thorough good.
Yeah.
Well, I
no,
guess,
we
yeah,
can
with
do
that,
that.
we can call the stream. We can end it. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We'll be back again at the same time next week. Maybe we'll have some other streams, some hobby streams. I'm hoping to have some of them pretty soon. Like, I think my internet connection is now working better. People came out and looked at it, and they largely fixed some of the issues present. So
Yeah, it's good.
it should be easier to do now. All right. Well, until next time, everybody, keep on hobbying.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody. Talk to you again soon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Over and out.